Good afternoon, ladies and gents. Trust you well and enjoying a great week. So midday mentoring again. It's 12 o'clock, 2 minutes past 12. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about money, business and growth and strategy. So the angle we're going to take today is more revenue does not mean more profit. So more revenue does not mean more profit. And this is a trap that I see so many people in property fall into. So I've got, how you doing Jordan, how you doing Ian, how you doing Charlotte? Great to have you all online. So I have seen lots of people with businesses in property. And I know lots of people, got lots of friends, work with lots of people. And they've got different size businesses. I know some people who are like one-man bands. You know, they work on their own. They don't have the stress or the responsibility of employees. They have a great little, how you doing, Chris? They have a great little small business that they run on their own, one-man band, nice little lifestyle job, or a nice little sort of self-employed job. I then know other people who have small businesses and they've got teams, they've got systems, they've got a few overheads, really nice lifestyle company. The overheads are paid, the salaries are paid, they earn a good amount of money for what they do, and then they generate some profit in addition to that. And I know other people who've got, you know, your big companies, multiple teams, multiple streams, multiple offices, you know, good sort of solid big businesses, 6 and 7 figure revenue, 6 and 7 figure profits. And those three types of businesses work really, really well. And I know people who have got those, who own those, who run those, who've built them. And we've trained many people on Property Entrepreneur how to achieve that. Whilst those things work well, and I know people who have those, I'll tell you what I know, or who I know more of. I know more people who have had those things and then thrown a rocket up it and completely crushed the whole thing. So they've had a really nice business, well balanced, making good profit in a really good place. And then they've scaled it out of balance. They've completely ruined the commercial fundamentals, and the profit just disappears. They take on the revenue, you know, they try and take on growth. They have all the revenues of a big business, all the costs of a big business without the revenues and the profits. And it throws the whole thing out of sync. Success and failure are both very, very predictable. And one thing I want you to take out of this, you know, the next sort of 10, 15 minutes is more revenue does not mean more profit in your business. Just trust me. I know more people who've had great businesses. How you doing, Jane? How you doing, Bessitas, Stephen, Charlotte, Kelly? How you doing? I know more people who've had good businesses that have made good money, and then they've just pushed it. They've taken on more sales, taken on more growth, taken on more revenue. And not only has it killed the bottom line, it's completely ruined the business fundamentals or the commercial fundamentals of running the business effectively. So more revenue does not mean more profit. The reason you're going to get stuck in this trap is, as entrepreneurs, you know, when you become self-employed for the first time, you know, mine was like when I was about 14, 15, and I've been self-employed ever since. I've only ever had one job. When you decide to make this, I only ever had one employed job, and I basically, if you haven't heard the story, the video's on YouTube. I basically broke every store policy going. They threatened to fire me, and then they ended up promoting me and giving me Manager of the Year award. Gave me the experience that I never wanted to be employed again. I've been self-employed ever since then. One of the things you'll realise is that when you go into entrepreneurship, how you doing, Samuel? Good to have you on the call. What you realise is as you go into entrepreneurship, or you go in to make that decision, the run up to it might be 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. It might be a few years. You know, you're building up the confidence, building up the anticipation to go in to become self-employed. The biggest fear that we have as entrepreneurs making that leap of faith is that you're not going to survive. You know, you're not going to generate enough revenue. You're going to starve to death. You're not going to bring in enough money. Those of you that have been entrepreneurs for long enough, or those of you that are considering it, just trust me, surviving as an entrepreneur is not difficult. If you're prepared to put the hours in, you can do a half decent job of what you're going to do. You're going to, as a one-man band, you're going to make enough money to survive. You know, that comes off the table reasonably quickly. In the first 6 to 12 months, you'll establish that revenue, you'll get the money coming in, and you can survive. That really isn't difficult. That's why something like 80% of businesses in the UK are small businesses. You know, that small space of getting the thing going is reasonably achievable. The danger is in that run up, in that anticipation, in that nervousness, we convince ourselves that we're not going to be able to survive. We jump into entrepreneurship, and then the answer is yes. The answer is yes. What's the question? I'll do a bit of this, I'll do a bit of that, I'll do some flips, I'll do some deal sourcing, I'll do some HMOs, I'll do some single lets, I'll do some lease options, whatever. You dart around and you'll do absolutely everything because you're searching for berries. You're in the wilderness. You're just trying to keep the thing going. The danger, though, is that mindset and mentality doesn't fall off as quickly as it comes in. If you take 6 months, a year, 3 years building up this anticipation, that mindset stays with us for a long time, and we don't want to turn down business. We don't want to turn down sales. We want to grab the money when it's being offered to us. We don't want to turn away business. It takes a long time as an entrepreneur to get the confidence and have the commercial understanding about how to build a financial framework, how to use the balance of the business, how to understand the structure of actually building it, to realise that sometimes saying yes can actually, really damage a business. More revenue does not mean more profit. More businesses choke to death than starve. So more businesses outgrow themselves, they choke to death, they take on more than they can handle. We all do it naturally as entrepreneurs because we want that stuff coming in the top end. More businesses choke to death than starve because more revenue does not mean more profit. There's 3 places where you're going to find profit in property entrepreneurship. So there's 3 different types of business that are going to actually make you money. The first is what we call the landlord level. So you're a one-man band, you are the business, you have no costs, you have no salaries, you have no office space usually, you don't have a huge amount of overheads, you're a one-man band, you are the business. Whatever you do, basically, how much energy and time you put in reflects how much money you get back. That can work really well because you've got X amount of hours in the day, you decide how many hours you're going to work, and you know that money pays you your bills, and as long as you turn up, do a good job, get paid from the right clients, you're going to do okay. I was in the office on Monday, and I met one of our handymen who I haven't seen for probably a year or so. Asked him how he's getting on, and he said, yeah, it's great. He's basically a one-man band now. He starts at 7 a.m, he finishes at 3 p.m, and he knows based on his hourly rate that he earns from us, that gives him the income he wants, the salary he wants to pay for his holidays, pay for his overheads, and that's a good place for him to be. So the first place that's good to be is where you're a one-man band. That's really, really good. That works, it's profitable, it pays your overheads, it's commercially balanced, it's good, lovely. The next step is the investor level. So once you're sick of being the one-man band, you've rolled your sleeves up, you've done the heavy lifting, you've been out there, you've earned your stripes, you know what you're doing, you now want to either scale it to get your time back or you want to scale it to make more money. Whatever the reason is, doesn't really matter. The next safe check-in point is the investor level. And this is where you use 2 things. You use team and you use systems to create a lifestyle business. So lifestyle business, you still work in it. You work in the business, you are a manager of a business, you manage teams, you manage systems, and it's a really nice lifestyle place to be. It can earn good money, it can be very lucrative. That's the next safe check-in point. But to get from landlord level to investor level, there's a trade-off. There's a trade-off you have to make. You basically have to buy back your time. So you might have spent a year or 2 years getting your income up to a level as a landlord, one-man band, and you're now paying your overheads. If you now want to have a bookkeeper or an assistant or a lettings manager or a maintenance guy, whatever, you've now got to buy back your time from doing those things yourself. So you've got to pay for that. Now, you can't have your cake and eat it. If you want to pay for a team and pay for systems and scale your business, you're going to have to go into the dip. So Seth Godin's written a book called The Dip, if you want to understand what it's about. It's about performance. It's about trade-offs. In this scenario, it's about taking on additional overheads. So you take on costs either organically, as you earn more money, you start to take on more overheads, or you forward fund it and you basically take on the overheads before you actually have the revenue and you go into a bit of a burn rate. You can trade off and get up to this point, but you can't have your cake and eat it. To get to the next point, which is investor level, you have to have additional revenue. So you've got to have additional revenue to pay for those overheads, then you get paid as your salary, and then if everything goes well, you make profit. You've got to get to this point. Businesses don't grow in a linear fashion. They don't just grow and grow and grow like profitably. They grow in a cyclical nature around the 4 seasons that we do on Property Entrepreneur, and they step change. There's only 3 positions where the business will be profitable. All of the other positions in between are out of commercial balance. Either your overheads are too high because you don't have the revenue, or you've crippled the profit margin that you've made by spending it on the team, and you've now got to quickly grow through it because you're burning capital. Investor level is the next one. That's where you get your team and your systems, and then that's the next safe check-in point. At that point, everything's balanced. You've brought in more revenue. It's making more profit. It's working well again. But then what happens again is you get this appetite. You get this growth. You want to go to the next stage, and the next stage is entrepreneur level. Now, this is not easy. So my mentor calls this crossing the desert, and we've done this with PPN UK. It is not easy. You're talking about taking on significant overheads. The business has to shed its skin. So you go from being a lifestyle, culture, band of brothers, great culture, great profitability, enjoyable place to work, reasonably low stress, low pressure. And then you want to scale it up to become an entrepreneur level, which is multiple teams, multiple businesses, multiple offices. And this commands a hugely different structure. You've got to have, if you look at PPN UK on property entrepreneur level, here it was me and a small team, and I managed them myself. We're all good, had good relationships. It was reasonably easy to operate, one office, things like that. PPN UK has now gone through the desert. That took over 2 years to get there, through the desert, hundreds of thousands of pounds. It's through the desert now, and now it has, it's got directors, it's got senior management team, it's got a senior team, it's got heads of departments, it's got multiple departments in head office, it's got local offices all around the UK. You can't grow profitably from there to there. And what happens is this danger of people think, I'll take on more and more money. But the reality of going from investor level to entrepreneur level isn't as easy as making more sales. The business has to shed its skin. So the systems, the team, the culture, the blueprint, the operations you had here will not enable you to operate here. You've got to basically remold the business. It's a very, very difficult journey to go on. More revenue does not mean more profit. As you bring in more revenue, or as you want to take on more scale, you need to understand what's required to get there. And you need to identify where these sweet spots are. When you're looking at more revenue does not mean more profit, there's one thing that I would encourage you to look at. And we spend an hour and a half going through this on the Property Entrepreneur Accelerator. We spend 3 months doing this on the Property Entrepreneur Programme. So it's not an easy task, it's not an easy challenge, but if you want to build a business that's profitable, you need to understand it. Those who understand it can build a business that's well structured. They can go into it with their eyes open. They can afford to lose a bit of money as they take on overheads because they've got absolute clarity in their business that when they get the other end, it's going to be profitable. And that's what will get you through the dark days, the confidence, the drops in confidence. When you know what it's going to look like when you get there, it'll enable you to push through, and it'll give you the confidence to back it with some money, because as you take on that additional revenue and you're growing aggressively, you will have to trade off profit through this journey. The trade-off here is obviously buying back your time. The trade-off here is forfeiting your profit and potentially even forward funding. The thing that you need to crack is commercial balance. So commercial balance means that every business can be amazingly balanced at a certain point. At landlord level, it's balanced. At investor level, it's balanced. At entrepreneur level, it's balanced. These are all hell yes. These are the hell yes businesses that you want to build. In the between the two are the sizes and the balances you don't want to be. They're your hell no's really. It's got to be hell yes or hell no, because in the middle is just a load of hell. You're going to be lost in the desert. You're going to be too big to be small, too small to be big. Your overheads are just going to cripple your P&L, and you're going to get exhausted and financially struggled very, very quickly. Commercial balance is the sweet point at which your business makes profit. It works really well. So Multi-Let UK, that's an example of one of our larger businesses. So that has that's the UK's largest network of portfolio management companies. We have 7 offices around the UK. We have over 1,000 tenants, and that business works at a commercial balance. So it's balanced well when it's operating at 200 units. So when it was 200 units, it was very, very profitable. It was a nice small business, worked really well. We then went into the dip and grew it up to 500 units. And at 500 units, it was then lucrative again, and it worked well. And then the next commercial balance was 1,000 units. And at 1,000 units, it works well, it pays all the overheads, it makes consistent profit, it works really, really effectively. Between those levels is the desert. Between those levels is the dip. And between those levels, more revenue does not mean more profit. You have to get to that next resting place. If you don't want to go from 2 to 5 or 5 to 1,000, 500 tenants to 1,000 tenants, you're going to end up in this difficult position where you just ruin your commercial balance. Have a think about your businesses and the businesses you're building and understand where your commercial balance is. The way that you'd work it out is to work out in the same way you did fractions at school, is understanding what is your common denominator. So if you look at every resource of output, this is not an easy thing to do. It takes a while to teach. But if you look at each unit of output, you want to find the common denominator at which they're all balanced. So if you need one bookkeeper, one full-time bookkeeper, or let's say a property manager, let's say one full-time property manager can manage 250 tenants. Now, if you're going to have only, this is just to make it simple. There are other ways to do this, but this is just a simple example. If one property manager can manage 250 units, then at 250 units with one property manager at 250, a bookkeeper who can do 250, that's well balanced. If then you decide to go to 350 and you need another bookkeeper and another property manager in order to maintain service levels and delivery, you've then got the capacity to deliver 500 units and the overheads to run 500 units, but you only have revenue from 300 units. This is where the business starts to fall out of commercial balance. What you want to do is find those sweet spots. More revenue does not mean more profit. Commercial balance means profit. Find out what those businesses look like, what levels do they work well, work out the common denominators, and then the other thing of this, I'll do it on another video, is you need to build out what we call your business model. Your business model is the only thing that never changes. Since we've built Multi-Let UK, using that as an example still, or any of them, Multi-Let UK, Property Entrepreneur, Manor House Developments, Portfolio Builder, they all have their own business model. And what happens as you build these companies is as long as you know where you're going, everything can change. You know, the business will change, the market will change, the locations you operate in change, the team will change, the brand will change, the processes, the systems, the operations, all of that will change, but the business model very, very rarely changes. And I would say to make the point carry some weight, it never changes. Multi-Let UK we've had that in the group for about between 3 and 4 years, 3.5 years, say, 3.5, 4 years as a scaling company, probably 3.5 years, and we've scaled that up from say 200-300 rooms up to over 1,000 now. During that period, if you look through every year's business plan, which isn't an academic exercise, it answers all your questions, it communicates to your team, your market, your investors what you're doing. It's an absolutely essential in your business. All of our property entrepreneurs do that in March. We go away for the AGM, we hire a hotel, we all get together and we write our business plans in a day together. You need a solid business plan. If you were to read the Multi-Let business plan all the way back to when it was an idea, the only thing that's never changed year on year on year on year is the business model. The business model is absolutely clear, and we know then that we know what the commercial balance of the business is based on the business model. So more revenue doesn't mean more profit, ladies and gents. I know lots of people who've had portfolios of 10 properties, 50 tenants, small businesses doing deal sourcing, and they've worked really well. Great service, great performance, highly profitable. And then they've got this entrepreneurial appetite. They think they're the next empire builder. They strap a rocket to it and they blow the living daylights out of it. More revenue comes in. They lose their service levels. They lose control of the business. They outgrow the systems and processes. They don't invest effectively in the back end and too busy for pouring it in the front. And more businesses choke to death than starve because of that process. More revenue does not mean more profit. As you go into the bank holiday weekend, as you go into next week, as you go into the year ahead, which starts from October, I know many of you on the call are joining us for Property Entrepreneur for the year from October. Make sure you're considering your commercial balance and your business model. Get that right, get that well balanced, and you'll know more revenue does not mean more profit. Commercial balance means more profit. They're the safety checking points, landlord, investor, entrepreneur. They're the places you'll make money. Don't follow the masses. Don't get too much of an appetite. Success and failure are very predictable. Build these businesses highly strategically, and you'll actually get what you need out of it. The market rate salary, the equal to the same as that as a profit. Otherwise, why bother owning the businesses? And the lifestyle, the time, the money, whatever it is you want, as you're building your companies. Hope that helps, ladies and gents. I'm off to the barbers to go and see my Turkish barber who charges your phone and gives you a drink of water, for those of you that have been tuning into these regularly. And then I'm off to the gym and to sort out some property entrepreneur bits and pieces for later in the week. So I hope you have a great afternoon. Hope that's been of value. More revenue does not mean more profit. The answer is yes. Now, what's the question? These are like entry-level things that get us going. Make sure you build your businesses deliberately. Make sure you get things done strategically. Do those well. Get your commercial balance right. And your businesses will actually go the distance, be profitable, lucrative, and sustainable for the future. So I wish you best of luck with that. And I'll see you on another Midday Mentoring soon. See you soon.